Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here. Now today's recipe is homemade tomato soup using homegrown tomatoes. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see how I grew those tomatoes, and also I've done one previous recipe using some of the tomatoes, and that was a tomato relish. Again, I'll put a link in the description. It's a relatively simple recipe to follow. The tomato soup just needs a bit of attention and a bit of care, and I'm going to show you now how we do it step by step. So let's get on with the first stage. So I've got about a kilo of tomatoes here, which I've chopped. They're homegrown ones. The larger ones I've chopped into 4, and the smaller ones I've just chopped in half. And of course you can adjust the quantities depending on how much you want to make of the soup and how tomatoes that you have to use. Now what I'm doing here is I've got a pan on a low heat with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then what we're going to do to begin with is we are going to just start with our other ingredients when the oil's just getting hot enough now. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to put our celery in, because I've got a couple of celery sticks which I've just cut into pieces, and we're going to put them in. I think it's about hot enough now. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so to the celery stick I'm going to add 2 chopped carrots, and also I'm going to add in 1 onion as well. I'm just going to give that a stir, and this will start the base for our soup. Just give that a stir. Just got it on a low heat. So 2 tablespoons of oil have gone in there, a couple of carrots, 2 celery sticks, and an onion, and we're just going to cook them off for a bit. We just need to cook them until they're soft and they're getting a little bit of colour. We'll just give them a little stir from time to time. So the carrots, celery and onion have had a few minutes. We want to just get them softened and coloured a little bit, as I say. It should take about 10 minutes. And then we can move on to the next stage. So the carrots, celery and the onion have been softening down for about 10 minutes. They've got a bit of colour on them now. Just got them on a low heat. And we're going to move on to the next stage. And of course the good thing about making a soup is when you think you pay over £1 now for a Heinz tin of soup, and you may get a couple of portions out of that tin, but when you think of, most people got carrots, celery and onion at home, and even you have them, they don't, relatively reasonable to buy in the shops, because if you're buying a bag of onions, you're only using one in this recipe, or 2 depending on what quantity you're making. So, and obviously growing your own tomatoes is going to save you a lot of money as well, and you can make it in batches and it will freeze. You can keep it in the freezer for 3 months, up to 3 months, which is great of course, and then just take it out, defrost it, and defrost some and just reheat it as you need it. So it's a great thing to have to do, and especially as it will start to get colder soon. Now let's go on to the next stage. So we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of tomato puree. We're just going to put that in. 1 and 2. And we're going to give that a good mix around. And that'll start to make the vegetables go red. Get that nicely coated. So yeah, have a go, because it's a relatively easy recipe to do. and there's nothing more satisfying than making your own food and sharing it with people, and that's what I think anyway. And I do encourage you all to give it a go, you know, and especially if you've never done much cooking before, give it a go. You know, you'll probably find you'll enjoy it. But that's all nicely coated now. So now what we got to do is we need to put in the tomatoes. So let's add them in. In they go. Lovely red colour. And also what we're going to do is add a good pinch of sugar, and that will help bring out the natural sweetness of the tomatoes. A little bit more. Let's give that a mix. Okay, so then what we need to do is we need to put a lid on, and we need to just let the tomatoes stew on a low heat for about 10 minutes, and we'll see that they, after about 10 minutes, they've shrunk down into the pan. So let's just take the spoon out, and let's just give it a mix actually before we do. So we get everything well mixed together. All the onions, the celery, the carrots, the tomatoes, all nicely mixed in. Okay, let's put the lid on, and then we'll leave that for about 10 minutes, and then we'll check it after 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, you can see how much liquid there is now, and the tomatoes have reduced down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our stock slowly. And what I've been doing during the 10 minutes is I've just been taking the lid off and just giving it a mix around every now and then, just to keep everything mixed together. So here I've got about 1.2 litres of stock. That's about 2 pints, just vegetable stock. We're now just going to add it in slowly, and we're just going to give it a stir as we do. Obviously, if you've got someone helping you or someone to hand, you can get them to slowly pour it while you stir, or the other way around. So just pour it in slowly, stirring it round. And this stock was just made using a couple of vegetable stock cubes, just dissolved in boiling water. Just got a big enough pan, just about. Do need a big saucepan for it, especially if you're making a big batch. Just about all going to fit in. Just about. That was lucky. Of course, if you are making a lot, you can obviously do it in a couple of batches. Okay, so that's all now nicely stirred in. Okay, so now we've done that, what we're going to do next is we're going to turn up the heat as high as it will go, just to get everything bubbling. So turn that right up. It's about as full as it will go. You have to obviously keep an eye on it because obviously it's quite full. Just need to wait till it bubbles, and as soon as it does, we'll turn the heat down to low again, and then we'll put the lid back onto the saucepan. So let's just get that bubbling. So just watch it like a hawk. It will go very quickly. You can start to see the bubbles forming at the side. So I could have used a bigger saucepan, but keep an eye on it, we should be fine. And you can see it's starting to get that nice red colour now, so it's starting to resemble soup now. It's nearly there. Just got the heat right on maximum as far as it will go. Like I say, this is a great, you know, you can do this as for a starter or for a main meal, serve it with some bread or croutons, whatever you want to do, and it's a great thing to have. So it starts to get colder in the UK soon. We've had some good weather this August and going into September, so it's been really nice, but obviously that cold weather will soon come because it likes to just creep up and come when you're not expecting it. So having some soup to hand or in the freezer, like I said, it would take last up to 3 months in the freezer. So you can see it's really bubbling now, so we need to just, I've got my hand on the knob ready to turn it as soon as it, see it's starting to bubble there now. So we just turn it right down low as soon as it bubbles. The last thing you want is it to go over the edge. Like I said, I could have used a bigger saucepan, but this is the one we're using for now. So just a little bit more, I think. And then we're just going to turn that heat right down low again, just like how we had it before. It's sort of bubbling all around now, so I think we will turn that down now. So turn it right down. There we go. Right down low, put the lid on. And then we need to just keep that on low for about 25 minutes. And just stir a couple of times as well. Just keep an eye on it over the period of the 25 minutes and just stir it every now and then. And then we'll sort of be on to the last stage after that. See, it doesn't take very long. It's not hard to do. So let's leave it for about 25 minutes. And then we'll see what it's looking like after 25 minutes. So after 25 minutes, I've turned the heat off, I've taken the lid off, I have given them a stir every now and then, and you can see it's reduced down a bit. The tomatoes have all broken up, more or less now. So what we're going to do is, if you have a blender, you can ladle into a blender. You may have to do it into batches. I've got a stick blender which I'm going to use, because what we're going to do is we're now going to blend the soup. Okay, so let's just move it off of the heat. And obviously just be careful if you're doing it like this, because obviously it'd be hot. So I'm just going to give it a blitz. So we're just going to keep doing it until it's nicely pureed. And then what we'll do is we can check for seasoning, and also may want to add a bit more tomato puree or a bit more sugar. Just give it a little taste. Just see if you think it needs anything. I'm actually quite pleased with the consistency of that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull it back onto the heat. If you wanted to freeze it at this point. Put it into some airtight containers, and label when you produced it, and then you know that you've got 3 months. To use it, and as I say earlier, just make sure you defrost it before you reheat it. So I'm going to put it back onto the gas. And then at this stage, obviously, we now can to see if we need to add any seasoning, any sugar, or any more tomato puree. So we're just going to reheat over a medium heat for a few minutes. And then we just want to stir it occasionally. And then what you should see is the bubbles just sort of breaking onto the surface. And then what we'll do is we'll check to see if we need to add any seasoning or anything. Love the colour of it as well, it's definitely got a nice shine to it as well. And of course you could put a bit of basil in as well. Of course that's a great combination, basil and tomatoes. I think I'm going to add a little bit more tomato puree. Give that a mix in. So obviously depending how ripe your tomatoes are and even what variety you're using as well, soup's going to have a different outcome. So let's just give that a stir. So mix that tomato puree in that I've added. You could, of course, if you wanted to, also sieve it as well if you don't want the seeds in it. And I'm pleased with the consistency of it. I actually prefer a stick blender to it's a larger blender. Just think there's a bit more control over it. But you know, everyone each to their own. Whatever you feel comfortable with. You can feel how nice and thick that is as I'm stirring it. So all we're waiting for is just to get the bubbles on the surface, and then we can just check for our seasoning. I've added a bit of tomato puree, as I say, and I just felt it needed that. We may need to add some sugar. We'll just give it a taste after. You can see the bubbles starting to form now. And that's all we're waiting for. So let's just check to see if we need to add anything else to it. No, I'm happy with that. I think the consistency is fine, and I think that the taste is fine. I'm quite pleased with that for first time, so I hope that you'll give it a try yourself. So like I say, I hope you'll give it a go, and you know, you can't beat making your own food, and especially when you're using your own homegrown produce. And just give it a try and see how it comes out. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and please give it a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, and ring that bell for notifications of further videos, cookery and other ones as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.